Oh shit! Yes.
We're gonna get Alex to like this damn thing.
Yep, we are.
Wait, did you
can
see
count
what
me
I
in.
posted in the server the other day? Bill
Oh,
tagged me, and so I made this meme of like, you know, the table guy, the guy who like has a table and it's like,
the change my mind meme
change
or whatever.
my mind.
Oh yeah.
I played the Atari Jaguars better than the N64 change my mind.
How do I
So-
disconnect this call? How do I get
I'm sorry.
off?
He made me play a lot of really shit games too, like Buck Bumble. Like,
Well,
ugh.
that was after I realized we weren't gonna get anywhere with like the classics. So I was
You
like,
don't like
all
that
right.
Buck Bumble banging soundtrack? Beat to the buck to the bumble.
God.
That's
It,
the
like,
best shit, man.
It's like one of those things that's it's in my head forever, and like sometimes I'll just be like, and I'll be like, God damn it, it's
Yeah.
Buck Bumble in my
She-
brain.
Hey guys, I'm Bill, a one-time Instagram blogger and now a podcaster.
And I'm Alex, the chaotic neutral,
And together we are the Gaming and Collecting Podcast
a brother-sister duo,
that talks about gaming.
and also anime.
And don't forget the collecting, or sometimes.
Ah, forget it. We're just a nostalgia podcast at this point.
But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us as we discuss the games that shaped us. So, this is normally where I'd say, how you been? But we actually have a guest for this episode. Introduce yourself.
Hey, it's Gerry from Super Ghost Radio, and I've been all right, but I'm super glad to be here hanging out with you guys today. And thank you for the opportunity. It's
Oh, thanks for coming on, dude.
really
Thank
nice of
you.
you. You guys are doing some cool stuff over here.
Thanks. So, anyway, I guess anyways, how you guys been?
I mean, I've been good. We only recorded not that long ago, so we didn't really do much. Oh, I started rewatching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Nice.
So that's what I've been doing. What have you been doing, Bill?
I've been editing a podcast and I fell asleep in my chair.
Oh,
Did you
nice.
fall asleep editing the podcast?
Yeah.
That's good.
I got comfortable and I just was like, oh shit. And I was like,
comfy chair. It is a
I had to
comfy
finish. Well, I had already edited the audio and I was like typing out the description. And the next thing I knew, it was just kind of sitting on the publish screen. I was like, oh, whoops.
Whoopsie doodles.
It happens.
Yeah,
happens. Happens. every now and then.
I have been binge playing Dying Light 2.
Nice.
That's been my thing lately. Pleasantly surprised with that game.
Is it good?
Um,
I heard mixed things about it.
It's way better than it even deserves to be. Like, in my opinion, I think it's pretty fleshed out. Like, it's not the best game I've ever played, but like it's engaging enough, and it's kind of oddly enough scratching like my Fallout itch.
Oh, nice.
'Cause there's like all these like little settlements and stuff, and you kind of get to know the people in the settlements, and you become friends. There's a lot of branching paths though that I was surprised about. Like, there's a lot of choice that actually affect the overall game in like the city. Like, certain things will affect the city as a whole.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then besides that, I did grab Dead Space remake. I threw that on. Spoiler alert: that game's still really scary.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking forward to speaking of horror game remakes, I'm looking forward to the Silent Hill 2 remake.
Oh
I
my
actually
God.
they the second they said they're not going to touch the story, I was like, okay, they could do whatever they want to the gameplay as long as they don't mess with the story.
Yeah, the story
I'm
is
fine.
fantastic in Dying Light in Silent Hill 2. I'm with you. Just don't touch that story. Leave it as it is.
Yeah, make the game prettier, like fix the combat a little, make the game actually fun to play, and like I'll be good.
I'm still like a little bit like I hope it's good. Bloober Team, they kind of have like a hey, they do a good one, and they do a kind of not so good one, then they do
Yeah.
a good one, and then not so good. So I hope that they pull it off. It looked really good from that like last gameplay trailer.
Yeah, definitely. So I was going to do this last episode, but I forgot. I have a couple collecting updates. I've picked up a few new games recently. I went to our local retro store. And I love going to like retro because I'm at the point of collecting now where I'm kind of like everything I really like is super expensive and I can't get right now. I'm kind of collecting the most like random stuff I can find, like that's like super cheap, usually on the PlayStation 1. And I found this game called ATV Racers. And at first I thought, oh, it's an ATV racing game. But the cover art is like furries driving ATVs.
Oh my god!
I was like, okay, I need to own this. It's only $5.
I think
It's
the real question is what's on that soundtrack.
That's a good question. I'll have to
You
check
don't
that
wanna
out
know.
at some point.
There's definitely a lot of punk rock.
I'm going to assume. Ironically, it was published by ZeniMax of all things,
Zenimax.
which is pretty interesting.
Interesting.
I'll have to give that one a look at some point. I also found this game called Rogue Trip Vacation 2012, which is a Twisted Metal clone, it looks like.
Oh,
And it was actually developed by the Twisted Metal team after they left,
Hmm.
which makes sense, I guess.
let's have a look at that box art.
So it's got like this. It looks about as 90s as you can get. I'm not really sure what's going on there. It's got like a dude in a Hawaiian shirt
Yeah,
with like
that's what
explosions and a fedora.
Look, man,
fedoras.
that's how you
Peak
make a
of
good game.
fashion.
You get some fedoras, you get some explosions, some pineapple shirts.
My favorite part is on the back. It has a big bubble that says featuring the music of Mighty Mighty Boss Stones.
Oh,
Oh,
hell
hell
yeah!
I'm gonna have to
One
play
brain
that.
cell.
Yes.
We are the hive mind already.
I love the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, especially we saw them. They were the opener for a band, for
Foo
who was
Fighters.
it? Foo Fighters.
Foo
And
Fighters.
honestly, I remember the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones more because the I forget who he was, but some guy was just dancing on
Oh, their
stage.
manager.
The manager was dancing on stage the whole time, and I was like, I love this band. I love it so much. I would go just to see this man dance again because he did not stop the whole set. It was
Sounds like you should pick
wonderful.
that game up as well.
I'll just borrow it from him.
We'll
He's
have to
up
play
today.
it next time we do a PS1 retrospective. Other than that, though, most of the games I picked up were pretty generic. Like I got the original Medal of Honor.
It's a good game.
It is a good game. I've been meaning to pick it up. I'm surprised I hadn't at this point.
Hmm.
A couple F1 games because they were super cheap.
Why not?
And I got a couple of Super Nintendo games. I got the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers beat 'em up. I
For
got this weird
which console?
Super
Super?
Nintendo.
Oh, that's a good game. That's a good game.
It is. It's really solid. The soundtrack kicks ass too.
Yep.
I also got Mario is Missing just because for memes.
Oh my god. I actually have memories of trying to get my dad, who did not enjoy playing video games whatsoever. But I remember
Mhm.
one time I was like, I rented that, and it was solely because it had something to do with, or no, it might not have. It was actually Mario's Time Machine.
Oh yeah,
like,
the other
I
educational game.
got him to basically answer all of the questions and like all the stuff, and then he would just hand me the controller to fight the bosses.
Yep. No, I saw it for really cheap, and I figured, all right, I need this for the history aspect of it more than anything. The game itself is worthless and pointless to play.
Oh, it's
but
really bad.
and then the last game I got was this RPG called Lagoon. It's like a Chemco RPG, and it looks really generic. But I've heard it's like one of those hilariously like so bad it's good RPGs on
No.
SNES. So I've been meaning to play it.
Yeah, you can never. I feel like even now today, like I will stumble across a Super Nintendo RPG that I've never heard about. Somehow, this 35 years into my life, I'm like, wait, how did I not know? But like the Super Nintendo's been out for almost as long as I've been alive, and I'm still finding games that I've never heard about.
That's like me with the PlayStation 1. Like one of my goals I've been doing right now is I'm trying to find all the racing games I can. And some of these are just ridiculous. Like, has anyone ever heard of Grand Tour Racing presented by Car and Driver?
Nope.
I like how they had to put the presented by.
Well, it's kind of like how the first Need for Speed was presented by Road and Track.
Really?
Yeah. Like the original Need for Speed was actually Road and Track presents the Need for Speed.
Oh my god.
Because good old advertising. But speaking of obscure games on consoles, that actually kind of ties into our topic for this episode. So I believe Jerry, you actually ran this idea by me like months ago.
Months ago, yeah.
And the idea we had was we were going to talk about our memories with old video game consoles,
Yep. Like,
in a sense.
yeah, because I mean, I have such vivid memories of, I think, almost all the consoles I've ever owned, and even the ones I haven't owned.
Mm.
Like, I can pinpoint like the time, where I was, down to the smell of the room,
Nice.
which was a lot of cigarette smoke for a lot of cases because it was the
Yeah.
90s.
See, I have memories with a good amount of consoles, but I also have a lot of memories like when I picked them up like later down the line, like post like their launch, like when I finally got like an original Xbox per se, which was like way later on, like than when it came out.
That's funny because I was actually going to mention that of all the consoles, I have zero nostalgia for the original Xbox. I didn't own one. I didn't even play one. I never played Halo until Halo Reach. So I have zero nostalgia for the console. Not that I think it's a bad console. It's just that, I don't know. When it came out, I just didn't need to own it.
Gotcha. We'll probably get into it more when we get into that console in
Go down
general.
the line. Yeah.
But I guess a first place to start would be like the first console you ever owned. That would probably. Do we want to do just consoles, or do you want to include handhelds as well?
Oh, handhelds have to be in this
Okay.
conversation. Mine was my first console or handheld that I ever owned was actually the Game Boy.
Oh, nice.
And I don't remember when I got it per se. I just remember the first, because I must have been really young when I got that thing. So it's kind of hazy. I just remember that when I got it, I got it with Kirby's Dream Land and
Nice.
Mega Man 3. And I remember in Kirby's Dream Land, when you get to the last level where you fight DDD, the music was so fucking fire that I remember pausing it and just holding it up to my ear and just bobbing my head. And my mom was like, "What are you doing back there?" Because I was like in the backseat of a car, and I was like just jamming out to this song. Like, it's so good. I think that might have even been the first game I ever beat as a kid. Like,
nice.
Ever. Mega Man 3, yep. Don't think I ever beat that as a kid. It was only recently that I was able to beat that, but that definitely started my love for, because I'm obsessed with Mega Man. I love Mega Man. I've played all the original Mega Man games and the X. I played most of the X games. I'm kind of like working my way through them, the newer ish ones, like the later PlayStation and PS2 ones.
Gotcha.
But
nice.
Yeah, Mega Man was definitely like a thing for me ever since I was a kid. But that was my first one.
So for me, it was actually the Game Boy Color, a little farther down the line, and because we're a bit on the younger side, me and Alex, we were born like mid '90s, like towards the end. So I remember getting the Game Boy Color Christmas of, I want to say, '99, and I remember opening it up, and like it was like, I still have it to this day. It was not the green one, like the bluish green, like tealish looking one. And I remember like I had two games like to choose from right off the bat when I opened it up. It was Super Mario Bros. Deluxe and Klax.
Klax.
And here's the best part. My child brain at the time looked at these two games and went, which one should I play first? And it went, I literally went, Klax, that's the game for me. So, believe it or not, Klax is my first video game I ever played.
Good Lord.
And the fun part is I have such a nostalgia for that game now. I'm actually trying to collect every version of it that ever released.
Yep.
Like, I have a sealed copy of the Atari 2600 version.
Really?
Yeah. It was actually the last game officially released for the 2600.
Wow. I'm sure there are dozens of you.
Yes, but the funny part was I played Klax for like a couple, like probably like an hour, and I was like, all right, that's clearly all this game is. I guess I'll play Mario now. and I played Mario, and I don't know if I ever beat Deluxe the first time I played it, because I think the first time I beat Mario Bros. 1 was actually on the NES a couple of years later.
Mm.
I didn't beat the first Mario Bros until like a couple years ago. I mean, properly. You know, everybody does it with warp pipes.
I should specify I probably used a warp pipe my first time playing.
Oh, probably. I mean, good lord, man. Like as kids, like that game is actually really difficult, especially like when you get into like worlds 6, 7, 8. Shit starts popping off in that game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was only recently that I was able to actually finish. You knew about the trick, right? That when you died, you didn't actually have to restart the whole thing. Like when you die and get game over in Mario Bros. And it boots you back to like the start screen. If you hold select and press A, it brings you back to the same level that you died on.
Oh yeah, yep. I've knew about that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that didn't know about that trick.
See, the Game Boy Color version would just save like after every level.
Oh,
so
yeah, right.
The only problem with the Game Boy Color version was it had like screen crunch really bad, so like everything was like super zoomed in, which was unfortunate. But
I don't know if I've ever played that version. I should throw that on sometime.
It's surprisingly a really good port. It has a ton of bonus stuff added. Like there's this like Race with Boo like mini game. There's like a whole art gallery you can unlock. It's pretty cool.
Oh, neat.
It's like the first Mario Advance game in a way.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those too. The thing that kind of irked me about those Mario Advance ones, they added in like when you would jump with Mario, he'd do like the wah, woohoo, and it was like no, not.
It was like in
not like this.
Zelda: Link to the Past. They added in Link doing the scraw shit, which was really annoying.
Did they?
Yeah, and the
I didn't know that.
GBA version of Link to the Past, every time you swing the sword, Link does his like little like scraw like screech that he always does.
Oh no.
Oh man.
It gets very annoying after a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Alex, what was your first console? Because I honest to God don't remember.
Mine was also a Game Boy Color.
Okay, it was.
You got 2-1 and I got like the pinkish red one. It was like a dark pink colored one. And
how much do you like Clacks?
I didn't get Clacks, so in typical fashion, when parents had a son and a daughter, the son would get the boy games, and I would get the Barbie
Barbie?
and
No.
the Rugrats like Angelica game. So I'm pretty sure my first game was like this Rugrats Angelica game where it was like a bunch of mini games, and it was garbage, and and I didn't really play it much because all I had were these really like horrible licensed game. But like, I played. So I guess my first impressions weren't the greatest.
Video games suck.
Well, especially because like she used to play the PC Barbie games all the time, and those things were like the shit compared to the fucking Game Boy version.
Oh yeah, those things were the bomb. Love
Barbie
those
dress
games.
up.
I would still no. You were a detective. You could be a detective.
Detective Barbie.
You could be. Oh my god, you gotta play it. It's a great game.
I gotta play it.
Yeah, it's actually we did a whole episode on it. It's like
really
an adventure. It's like an adventure game where you have to like solve this mystery. It's funny as hell.
From the creators of Myst.
That would be funny. I don't know who made that game. Probably Mattel.
Yeah.
But
their game division.
So handheld wise, like obviously Game Boy was pretty standard. I'd love to meet someone who actually had like a Game Gear or a Lynx or something, or some bizarre handheld as their first handheld.
Well, I can see up in the corner of your screen you have a Virtual Boy. I would like to meet the sociopath that got one of those for their first console ever.
The poor soul.
They're in jail now. Let's just be real. They're in jail.
So I guess moving on, like this isn't really going to be a timeline episode. This is going to be kind of just a random mesh of like consoles. I'm thinking. Moving on to Virtual Boy, actually, I should probably talk about the first time I played that thing. So I got that at a flea market for like $100, which at the time was a pretty good deal. I remember getting home and like the funniest thing about setting that up was I did not know how to freaking play it at first, because there's no comfortable way at all to play a
No.
Virtual
No,
Boy.
no,
They
there's
didn't
not.
think that thing through at all.
So I was like trying to find like a table where I could actually set it up, and like no matter where I set it up, it was never a comfortable angle. So what I ended up doing was I set it up in the living room of our parents' house on their little coffee table, which happened to be the right length, and I was sitting on the floor in the corner of the living room under the coffee table just to play the Virtual Boy. And I
Quite,
remember
quite the setup.
my mother walks by and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like,
I'm
it's a
playing
gamer
video
thing, don't
games.
ask. I'm like, it's a gamer thing, don't ask.
She's more disappointed seeing you in that state than like catching you with porn or something. She's like, "Oh my god, Bill, what is happening right now?"
She was just kind of like, yeah, it's his hobby, whatever.
Okay,
And my dad
as
was
long as
more
it's happy.
disappointed than anything. He was,
I mean,
yeah, but
I
the
would be
funny
disappointed in my son too if he came home and was like, "Dad, I got a Virtual Boy." I'd be like, "No, you don't. No, that's going in the garbage."
so the funniest thing about it was it actually wasn't that bad to play once I actually got it working.
What game did you play?
Wario Land was the
That's
first one I played.
yeah, that's a good game. Yeah, I recently beat that in the last like 2 or 3 years, but I played it in a very weird and unconventional way. I had a Oculus Rift,
Mhm.
or not a Rift, Quest,
Hmm.
and you can actually load ROMs onto a Quest really easily.
Oh, nice.
And if you load the Virtual Boy ROMs on them, you can actually make them 3D.
Oh, that's cool.
So I
Oh, that's
actually
cool.
did play it the right way, and it did look like a Virtual Boy, but it actually sat on my face the right way. That sounds weird to say that the Virtual Boy sat on my face, but hey, whatever. Here we are. So the the Oculus was way more comfortable, and that game super good.
It
I
is.
I like that game.
I think the biggest critique with Wario Land, Virtual Boy Wario Land, is the biggest critique with it is why is it on Virtual Boy?
Yeah. I have two critiques. Why is it on Virtual Boy? And I guess the other one ties into that is why red? Why is it
So
red?
actually, getting into the history of the Virtual Boy, when Yokoi was making it, he actually bought the rights for the technology from this company called like, I think it was like Reflections Technology. And the whole reason it was red was because the company that originally designed the idea for the Virtual Boy Reflections, they just used kind of like cheap off the shelf parts, and the cheapest LEDs they could find only came in the color red. Their
What?
original idea was this wasn't going to be permanent, this would just be for prototyping.
Oh, good lord.
And very well known, the Virtual Boy was never finished and it was rushed out before Yokoi could actually.
There's what, 27 games?
27, I think, in total, but like
There's
only
like a
like
couple prototypes or something too.
I think only like 14 or so came out in America.
Have you played the Snow Bros game? Or not Snow
Oh,
Bros.
Jack Bros.
Jack Bros, yeah.
I have not, because I don't have the money to track it down. I should just emulate it at some point and play it.
It's pretty fun. I've played it. Emulated. I don't own any retro stuff. I'm kind of jealous. I had that endeavor just before we moved in 2017, and then I was like, "Oh, I got to sell a lot of this stuff to afford this move."
Yeah. Yeah, it's so actually that was like one of the first Atlas like Shin Megami Tensei games to ever make it over here too, which is kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
I have
That's the
yet
one.
I've yet to play it though. I've heard it's considered like one of the best games on Virtual Boy.
I would say that Wario's better.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. It doesn't
I
have a
would-
lot of depth. It's just kind of like, and I don't mean that in the sense of like 3D. I mean like the game is very shallow. Like there's not a lot going on.
Yeah. It's kind of a very short kind of top down just generic action game.
Yeah. It's fine. But do you have any recollection of when you first played the Nintendo Entertainment System for the first time?
So, believe it or not, we actually got a hand-me-down NES very early on.
Yes.
Probably around like 2000. Like our dad had one that was just kind of in storage, and it was kind of just given to us. So I remember playing that vividly because I remember playing Mario Brothers and being like, "It's the same game as on my Game Boy."
Yeah.
We played a lot of that. We played a lot of Metroid, and
Ooh.
Alex in particular remembers Blaster Master a lot.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh,
It's
Blast
only
Master's
because
so
of the
good.
intro scene. The
Yeah,
intro
the
scene
intro makes no sense.
of the frog dissection, and it's like one of those things that's permanently stuck in my brain and will never leave.
The
And I just
intro to
remember
Blaster
that.
Master is so random. You go in your backyard, you go down this random hole, your frog runs away, and then you just find this battle tank, and you're like, okay, time to save the world, I guess. It's like
I'll avenge you, frog.
it's such a random intro.
I remember it so
It is
vividly.
a
I don't know
Such a good
why.
game.
great game. Hard as fuck, but
Oh yeah, the all those newer ones too, like Blaster Master Zero, like the one on
Mm.
Switch, they're all so good. I love
It's
those
a
games.
cool idea, like a side scroller, but when you go in the door, it becomes a Zelda like top down.
Yep. Yeah, I like those a lot. I remember the first introduction to Nintendo was at my best friend who lived across the street from me. I went over there, and this is the moment when I said that everything smelled like cigarette smoke because his mom smoked so much. It had that like cigarette-y smell. We were sitting on the carpet. That also smelled a lot like cigarettes. They had that couch from the 90s with like it's like brown with like the floral shit on it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that couch, and guess what? I don't care where you were or what you did. That couch also smelled like cigarette smoke, whether you smoked or not. 100%.
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting on the floor, like kind of in front of that couch, and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna turn it on." And the first game that I seen on a regular Nintendo was Bayou Billy.
I've heard of this game multiple times, and I've still yet to experience it.
It's funny because like when I'll say like, "Yeah, man," the first time I played Nintendo, they're like, "Yeah, Zelda, Mario, Metroid." Nope, Bayou fucking Billy, and that game is not good. That's not a good game.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't get it, Bill, since you went by Billy at the time you were
Uh,
playing it.
Because I didn't start collecting NES until like years later. Because we had just like this, basically our NES collection at the time was whatever my dad had, so it was just
Yeah.
basically like the 15 games that he had back in the day. And by that point, I wasn't really collecting NES much. I was more into like PlayStation and stuff.
Yes.
Well, now's the time.
Mm.
Now's the time to buy a Bayou Billy.
Well, especially because NES stuff has kind of gone down in value as of late. Because so I always say like game collecting, the prices of games kind of revolve around Nintendo because like everyone loves Nintendo. And right now, the hot Nintendo consoles are N64 and GameCube.
Ugh.
Really?
Yeah. So the theory is the generation of like kids that grew up with like N64 and GameCube are all adults now, and now they actually have money to buy games. So they're all
Right.
kind of like nostalgically trying to like recollect their GameCube stuff.
Nostalgia is a drug, man. I don't care what anybody says. It's a
Mm.
drug, and I'm heavily addicted to it.
Yep.
But yeah, we threw on Bayou Billy, and I just remember being like, "I can't play this. This is too hard." And then he was like, "Oh well, I could show you this other game. It's not very good though. I don't know what you're supposed to do." And then I see him take out this golden cartridge, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"What is that?" And he's like, "I don't know. It's like impossible. You can't even do anything. I don't even know what you're supposed to do." And he pops in The Legend of Zelda, and I just remember hearing that music and being covered in cigarette smoke, and it was the happiest time I was ever alive in my life. And yeah, I remember because he, for some reason, he would always just like start off and go to like the left or the right, and I was like, "Why didn't you go in that cave?" And he was like, "What cave?" And I was like, "It's directly. What do you mean? What cave is right there?" Um, and he didn't know that there was a. He didn't even get the like. He didn't ever get the sword. He just would walk,
Oh,
get killed,
no.
and be like, "Stupid game, turn it off." Back to Bayou Billy.
I guess they're right. It was dangerous to go alone.
It was. And then of course, after that same night, I remember we played a bunch of Zelda, but then I was like, What's that other game you got?" And he busted out. Of course, we busted out Mario. Uh, was not very good at it. You know, kind of had some fun. Then we played Duck Hunt, and I got mad because I was playing the game right, but he was not. He was like literally standing in front of the TV and pushing the gun
Uh,
up to
the
TV.
classic.
Yeah,
That's
and I
how
was
I
like,
play.
but yeah, that's my very vivid memory of the first Nintendo.
The NES was like, it's such a nostalgic console, even though like getting onto work nowadays is such a pain because like they all
Mhm.
have that like chip reading issue because of the weird like spring loaded cartridge slot.
Yeah, that
And
and like that's the thing. Like I did collect for like a bit, and at a certain point, I was just like, this isn't necessarily beneficial to me anymore. And then like I sold a bunch of stuff. The only thing I really have now is I actually have a sealed copy straight from Japan of Senken Densetsu 3, which is Secret of Mana 2, or as
nice.
they ended up re-releasing it as Trials of Mana. My friend brought that back from Japan, and it's I don't know. I love the Secret of Mana game, so that's one that I'm just like, yep, I definitely like to just have that there. But
Nice.
I it might be blasphemy to a lot of people, but I emulate everything like under the sun. I bought a Steam Deck just for emulation.
I
Like that
think
is
the majority of Steam Deck users bought it to emulate stuff, honestly.
it is crazy how good it emulates stuff too. Like it goes from, the oldest like Atari stuff obviously up right to and including PS3 and Xbox 360.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it can
That's
it can do a lot
insane.
of crazy shit. But I've mostly been using it to play like arcade games, some PS1, TurboGrafx 16 and the PC Engine. That shit is like a whole hidden gem cornucopia that I was not familiar with.
It really is. Now the so actually speaking of the TurboGrafx, that's one that's like really kind of came out of nowhere. Like it used to be like this one console that nobody talked about and like you could get for like $1 on the dime. Now ever since like the internet started talking about it and everyone's discovered it's like this hidden treasure trove of games, like people just like are like flocking to it, and now it's like one of the most expensive consoles to collect for these
No
days.
way. Oh god.
I remember I got mine at this random retro store they used to have in the old mall from our hometown.
Mm.
They just had a TurboGrafx in the carrying case, like with like 5 controllers, the multi-tap, and like 3 games. And I was kind of like, I'm like, how much do you want for that? They're like, I don't know, $200. I was like, sure, I'll do that. So then I got the TurboGrafx and Keith Courage and Alpha Zone and this game called like Newtopia,
Oh yeah, I've heard of
which is
that.
like a Zelda style like RPG kind of game.
Yep.
Little did I know that game is like $200 in value now, which is kind of
Oh.
insane.
Yeah, it's one of those rare ones. I don't know
Mhm.
what are the bonk ones. The bonk ones must go for decently cheap, right? They got it because that was like the pack in for a while, I think.
Keith Courage was like the longest running pack in, according to Game Eye, which is what I use to track a lot of prices. Uh, let's see, TurboGrafx 16. So Bonk is going for like $60,
What?
and Bonk's Revenge is going for like 90.
Wow! I actually just beat bonk on
It's
TurboGrafx. It's actually really. You know what it reminded me of? Wario, because it has like this different kind of take on platforming, where like at first when I played it, I was like, "Oh, this feels weird," because like the attacks, you don't just jump on things. You got to like jump and then press the attack button and then kind of like swoop down and hit stuff with your head, and like then you can like use it to spin and stuff. Like I don't know, it just had like a really unique kind of feel, and I think I remember playing that at like a random kid's house when I was in like junior high. Like he lived up behind me and he was like, want to come up and play basketball? And then we were playing basketball. I was like, sports kind of suck. You got video games or something? And he was like, I don't know. I got like this turbo thing. And I was like, turbo thing? What is it? Let me see. We go in and that was the first time I'd seen one. And I was like, oh, what is this? Did you get this at the dollar store? Like, what is this thing? I didn't even know it existed. I thought it was like some bargain bin shit. And then he threw on bonk and I was like, oh, this is cool. But that like
Mm.
I played it for like 30 seconds and he was like, you gotta go. My mom says you gotta go. And then I left. And I never seen a TurboGrafx since.
Or him. No.
I mean, I've seen him, not by choice, but
Uh,
but yeah, like Bonk is a great game. I will say though, that last boss can go fuck himself because it is impossible. I had to turn a cheat on to beat it because it's impossible. It's like I've watched people play it because I was like, how is this impossible? How are you even supposed to do this? And I looked at YouTube videos. Every time you hit the boss, you have to take a hit. So the only way that you can actually beat that boss, as far as I've seen, is you have to get all of the heart power-ups throughout the whole game to have full health, to because you got to take a hit every single time you hit him.
Yeah, the olden like designs of like archaic video gaming. It was like such a they just made games so hard just for the like fuck of it at the time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I could not believe how, because like the game was like fairly well balanced throughout, and then this last boss came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah,
this is bullshit.
But actually, real quick, guys, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Cool.
And we're back.
Yes.
So, we are back.
So me and Alex's first console was actually the PlayStation. Like we had the PS1, like the small, like little, like redesigned version that had that like built-in like LCD screen.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, like it was like the coolest thing because you could like take it like on the go or like play it like when you were like camping or something, as long as you had power.
Would you say that you had the PlayStation Portable?
In a sense.
So they made the PlayStation Portable, and the PSP is the PSP2, I guess, essentially.
I guess.
Yeah.
That thing was amazing back in the day because like eventually like we got when the PS2 came out, that became me and Alex's console, and I just kind of inherited the PS1.
Yeah.
And I remember the screen was like my favorite part about it because I could just like, as being like I was like probably like 11, like 12 at the time. I'd just like have it in my bed and I'd be like playing Crash Bandicoot or like Final Fantasy VIII when I was supposed to be sleeping.
Wait, did mom ever come in and catch you and you just went like?
No, she never really
checked.
She never checked. So.
Oh, lucky you.
No, but I remember playing a lot of Final Fantasy VIII back in the day, like with that thing, because like you could just like put it in your lap and just have the controller there. As long as it was plugged in, it wouldn't like be a big deal. So
Final Fantasy VIII is not too bad. Those cutscenes at the time blew my childlike mind.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII, that was actually my first RPG of all things, believe it or not.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because I wanted 7, but like my childhood brain like was trying to be like mature and write the actual Roman numerals out. But I added an extra I, so I got 8 instead of 7.
Nice.
Which, I mean, in hindsight, I don't really complain because I love 8, but
8's good. I like 8 too. I don't like the GF system that much. It's kind of annoying to me. But overall, it's a cool game.
Yeah, once you figure it out, it's actually like really fun to like break the game in half with like how you can just manipulate the combat system.
Yeah.
But the amount of work it takes to actually do that is just not worth it. I love that game, but I will admit it is heavily flawed.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Best piece of music in that game too is that the first time when you're on the train, when you're playing as Laguna.
Oh yeah,
his battle music. That's the best music in the game.
Man with the Machine Gun.
Yep.
That's honestly my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack of all time.
It's really good. Yeah, that soundtrack is fantastic. I do want to for sure get back to my first console, but I definitely got to say, when I first got the PlayStation, it was not until 99, Christmas of 99. And my first game that I popped into that thing was Spyro the Dragon.
Nice.
And I remember going, this is like Mario 64, but like more magical. and I loved it. To this day I love that Spyro game. Like those
Sp-
games are fun.
Spyro 1 is still holds up. I love the soundtrack too because it was all done by Stuart Copeland,
Who's that?
the drummer for the Police.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He also did so it's funny, one of the levels in Spyro 1 is literally the Amanda Show theme. Because
No way.
he actually composed the Amanda Show theme as well.
Oh man.
And he just reused it for Spyro.
Why not?
Yeah, those Spyro games are pretty good, but Spyro has since fallen down a dark path.
Yeah. I mean, he did get an awesome remake though, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was good. And then because when I got my PlayStation, I got Spyro, and I got Final Fantasy VII,
Mhm.
and I got what was that other game? Oh, Wild 9.
Wild 9, that's an interesting one.
That's a good game.
It is. It was the same studio that did Earthworm Jim.
Yep. Interplay? Was it Interplay?
Shiny Entertainment.
Oh yeah. Right.
I think Interplay published it.
Yeah. It's really neat. You gotta like take dudes and shoot them with like this gun that shoots a beam of electricity, and it grapples onto the guys, and you have to like swing them back and forth and beat the shit out of them. Like it had a really strange mechanic, but it was a lot of fun. It's
Yeah.
a good game.
This is back when developers could just be like creative.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's like, is there knee-high walls? We'll get the fuck out of here. But yeah, back to the first console. Mine was Super Nintendo.
Nice.
And
Super
of
Nintendo.
course, it was Super Mario World.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because wasn't it a pack-in?
It was a pack-in. That's like,
Nice.
in my opinion, that is the greatest pack-in of all time.
I'd say it's definitely up there.
Like, some might argue Wii Sports.
That is a good argument.
To be fair, Wii Sports was like the best party game ever back in the day.
No, I'm not even
It
going to
still
debate
is.
that it was. It was great, but it's not as good as Mario World.
No.
What?
No,
What
it's
are you saying?
Super Mario World, best pack-in ever. Wii Sports, second best pack-in ever.
I don't know. I don't agree.
I'm sure there's a Genesis fan that's like Sonic 2 was better, but
Yeah, some Genesis fan right now is screaming.
I mean, I didn't have either growing up, so I'm like a fan of both, but they're both phenomenal games, so
Yep.
Yeah.
Mario World is fun, especially because like Miyamoto considers it like, I think Miyamoto said on record like if he could go back and redo any Mario game, it would be World because he feels like it was unfinished.
Unfinished.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Because I guess it was rushed a little. You notice it particularly with the soundtrack because there's really only one melody, but they managed to make one melody such an expansive soundtrack, which is even more impressive, honestly.
Yeah. I have a deep nostalgia for that soundtrack, and that's what I mean. Like when I first turned that console on, and you feel that nice big thok of flicking on the power button of the Super Nintendo, and then you see the nice crispy sound of that Nintendo logo popping up, and then you get that banging intro song. Oh man, that it takes me back. And I spent a lot of time with Super Nintendo too. Like I had a lot of games, and like I think one of my most near and dear like memories in my life, like ever, was coming home from, and I think I might have told this on our podcast, but I'm not 100% sure. I came home from the last day of school, and I go downstairs in the basement, and I'm like playing with toys or whatever I'm doing, and my Super Nintendo was actually up in my bedroom. And as I'm playing with toys, I hear this music like blasting from upstairs. And I'm like, man, what is that sound? And I run up, and my dad had actually gone out and bought Super Mario RPG because he knew that
Oh,
every time
nice.
the game came on like TV, on the ad, I was always like, oh, Dad, look, you got to see this. Like, this looks so cool. So he actually went out and got it without me knowing, put it in the console, and turned my TV up as high as that little thing could go. And I just remember hearing that like intro where Toadstool's sitting on like the thing, and like Bowser's in the background. So that song to this day like kind of gives me cold shivers where I'm like, oh man, like that takes me back. it takes me back.
The Super Nintendo sound card is still probably one of the most impressive like sound cards I think any console ever had.
Oh, for its time, it was insane. Like when you compare it to like the competitors and what was out, it was like
Yeah,
second to none. It was like there's no chance you're not beating
like I'm a diehard fan of like the Genesis sound card, like for what it was. But like when you try to compare the two, like they were so their own things, like in a lot of ways. Like the Genesis had like that like 90s like
gritty, really gritty and grimy. Like it was good for like heavy songs, you know? Like Earthworm Jim actually sounds way better on
on the
Genesis.
Genesis because
Yeah.
it was made with the Genesis sound card in mind.
Yeah.
To me, like one of the best soundtracks on that entire system is like very late in its lifespan, Comic Zone. Because the whole soundtrack literally sounds like a grunge album.
Really? You know what? I've maybe only ever played like a split second of Comic Zone. I remember getting it on the Wii Virtual Console when that,
Mm.
because I think it was like one of the first things that came out on the Virtual Console when they launched that. And I remember being like, "Oh man, this looks cool! Like, what is this? I've never even heard of this." And you know what? I should go back and play that.
It's a very difficult game. That's all I'll say.
Oh
But
yeah,
the soundtrack is phenomenal.
I like good difficult games.
It's actually funny talking about the Super Nintendo sound card because that sound card is very fascinating because it was actually developed by Sony.
Yeah. And Sony was actually going to do the add-on for
Mhm.
the Super Nintendo, and then
Nintendo embarrassed them, and they decided we're going to go make our own. And look what
PlayStation.
happened.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
That's also why the GBA sound card is so. It's not bad, but it's nowhere near as good because Sony was like, "Yeah, you can't use our sound card anymore."
Yeah, the GBA, like it's not fantastic sounding.
It's
got
not, but when like the right company made the right game with it, it could sound really good. I think the problem was like the Super Nintendo ports just never sounded as good.
Yeah. I think Metroid Fusion has a good sound to it. I remember that being okay.
The
The
Ace
golden.
Attorney games in particular were phenomenal.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They did sound good, and so did Golden Sun.
Mm. Interestingly enough, like speaking of like handhelds and stuff, this is probably like where Alex really got super into gaming. But Alex, you remember the DS, right?
Of course.
That was like I think your gateway drug into gaming.
Yeah, Pokemon, all the DS games on
Pokemon
there.
and Animal Crossing.
And Animal Crossing, yeah, that was my first Animal Crossing
Oh
game.
yeah, I forgot about Animal
Wild
Crossing
World.
being on there.
I think that was the first game I played on the DS as well. No, it was
No,
Nintendogs.
it was
It was
Nintendogs.
Nintendogs.
Because you had that limited edition
Yeah, the
Nintendogs
teal one.
DS.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first one I played, but Animal Crossing and Pokemon were definitely my gateways into getting me into gaming. And it's also when I stopped getting nearly as many like licensed games and I got more regular games.
Well, Animal Crossing, I think you were able to stretch Animal Crossing out for like 5 years.
Yeah, because I played Wild World for a while. Yeah, because even when I got a 3DS, Animal Crossing New Leaf didn't come out until a little bit after the 3DS was released as well. So, yeah. And then that's when I just played that game nonstop. I love
It's
Animal Crossing.
it's actually kind of funny with the DS. What was you guys' like first thought like when you saw the thing with like 2 screens?
I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I didn't get it. And I put off buying a DS for a long time, and I had a PSP, and I was like, no man, it's all about the graphics, dude. Like it's all about the graphics. Then you know, then I started to kind of realize like, you know, I don't really like a lot of stuff that I'm playing on PSP. Like not that the PSP actually has a really cool library of stuff, and there are some really neat hidden gems there. But in terms of like, I don't know, just like that time, I was so obsessed with like, no man, gotta have the best graphics. And then I remember, I don't remember who said it to me, but they were like, you don't realize how good that Mario game is on DS. And I was like, I wasn't even paying it. It's like for a minute I fell off of Nintendo like around the DS and the GameCube kind of era, I just kind of stopped giving a shit. And I don't know what happened, but I remember just being so hell bent on getting a DS for that Mario game, and I finally did, and it was a good decision because
That
that's
was New Super Mario Brothers, right?
it sure was.
I remember New Super Mario Brothers when they first announced it.
Mm.
Like, it was just such a cool idea, like the 3D models with like the backgrounds like going back to 2D. And I mean, in hindsight, yeah, they kind of ran the idea into the ground as they went on, but
I could really do without the ba ba in every single level and everything just dancing their asses off. Never seen a Koopa so excited to get murdered in my life.
But hey, they dance. They
Yeah.
dance to the bop.
Right before Mario curb stomps them.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that game was so fun though. Like,
it was
just going back like nostalgically.
Yep, that's a good one. Those Castlevania games on the DS are really, really good too. And I think I've only ever played one of them.
Which one?
Shit. I can't remember the names of them.
Was it the one with the paintings?
No, it's the one with the guy with the white coat.
Oh, that was Dawn of Sorrow, I believe.
Yes, the sequel to Aria of Sorrow.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. It's good.
That one was really good. I liked Portrait of Ruin. That was the one with the paintings. It was like Mario 64. You went through paintings to get to levels.
I don't think I played that one. Yes, that's what I mean. Like I haven't actually played that. There's a few that I'm missing from my list of. I'm addicted to beating games. Like I know that you
Gotcha.
guys you're addicted to like collecting the stuff. I have an addiction with beats. Like I gotta get my beats, man. Gotta.
See, Alex likes to play those never-ending games.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I play the games that just never end.
no. Nope,
Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing.
It's so funny because like when we the three of us, Greg and Beth on my two co-hosts on Super Ghost, when we pretty much made that podcast because of Final Fantasy 14 online. Because
nice.
we were looking for something to play together, and I think we threw on like Deep Rock Galactic, and then one of us just was like, Final Fantasy 14 is free for a bit, like we could just try that, I guess. And it was the craziest rabbit hole I've ever gone down in anything in my gaming life, and I cannot believe the amount of time I put into that thing. But when we finished Endwalker, I was like, okay, cool, I'm done. And they were like, well, hang on, Gerry, this game never ends. Like it's an MMO. Like and I was like, nope, I'm done. I seen credits.
I beat
for
the
thing.
game.
Yep, it's beat. I'm done. I'm out. And they were like, but it never ends. I'm like, well, I ended it. I seen credits. I'm done. Counting it. Count my beats.
That's like in Minecraft when you beat the Ender Dragon and the credits roll.
Yep.
Oh, really? Like it actually has like a credit roll?
I don't know if it's still there, but when they first introduced the Ender Dragon, which was like this big like final boss, when you beat it, a credit roll happened, which was kind of neat.
I would consider that a beat. That would be a beat. I use the How Long to Beat database to track all of my beats, and I think I had 56 last year.
Nice
in total. But I also do play a lot of retro games. So that, sometimes they're like 2 hours long.
See, our problem is Alex plays a lot of endless games, and I alternate between games, anime, and manga. So I just I'd never have time to like stick to just one thing.
Yeah. I love anime and I love manga. The most manga that I read is Junji Ito stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Some of his stuff is pretty fucked up. It's pretty nuts. I own Uzumaki, and I've took out like a bunch from the library, and I've read them. But yeah, I love Junji Ito stuff. And for anime, I mean, I grew up with Dragon Ball, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
in my blood. Like I'll never like. Sometimes people are like, "You still watch that show? You're like 35-year-old." I'm like, "Hey, fuck off! I'm never gonna stop watching this show because it is like part of me. I mean, I grew up
Mm.
with it.
Mm.
Same with video games. Like watching Dragon Ball Z, playing video games. Like I'm never gonna stop just
Mm.
because of whatever my age is supposed to dictate what I'm supposed to do with my life.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's like Alex with like One Piece. Like
One
she'll be
Piece.
watching that until she dies because it's never gonna end.
Yeah,
He's-
I'm caught up, so I just rewatch my favorite arcs and stuff at this point, and then I just like continue with what's currently out.
Maybe I'll have to get you to suggest like, all right, give me the best arc in One Piece and like tell me
Oh.
like a start point, finish point, just so I can like absorb it because
See,
I
so
love the
how
look of
far
it.
did you get? How far did you get in it?
In One Piece,
Yeah.
I got 5 minutes into the first episode.
Okay. So I'd say, like, honestly, for me, it really picked up in the Alabasta arc or the Baroque Works arc. Once you get there, and that's kind of like their first really big arc and big encounter, and I'd say like that's when I was like, this shit's good. I was like, this is really good. And that's when I got super into it, and then the arcs just only get better from there. Like that's just the best way I can describe. I mean, there's always like parts in it that I felt like are a little too long. But even like some of the filler is good. I mean, some of it's bad, but like there is some good filler out there. So
Dragon Ball's got the same problem as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Dragon Ball Z Kai is the way to watch that show, in my opinion.
I do think there are some like filler arcs though from like OG Dragon Ball from original Dragon Ball Z that I really like.
Like Goku and Piccolo getting their driver's license.
There's that one. Like some of them are just funny, like because Kai cuts out pretty much all the training with Gohan early on.
Oh yeah, it does.
I love some of the original dub lines too. Like I love that line at the end of Z where like Chi Chi just like destroys Yamcha with one line. That one.
What was it? What does she say again?
They make a joke. Her and Bulma make a joke about trading husbands, and Yamcha like says something about like, "Hey, ladies, I'm available," and Chi-Chi's like, "We're talking about upgrades here, Yamcha, not a downgrade."
Or yeah, remember when Yamcha was the hot guy on Dragon Ball? Remember that poor guy? He was like
Yeah.
he was like the shit on Dragon Ball.
And then they
then
needed another.
Saiyans.
They needed another Saiyan, so they were like, "Bulma, yeah, Vegeta, that'll work."
Yeah. Poor Yamcha. He got ruled out by the big dick energy of Super Saiyans.
And then in DBZ Kakarot, they have like multiple side quests where he's just a player for no reason.
No way. I didn't get very far in that game.
It picks up. It's really fun, like some of the bonus stuff and like all the callbacks. It's kind of a game though you have to be in the right mood for because like it literally is just the Z Saga again. Like
Is it the whole Z Saga?
Yeah, from Saiyan all the way to the Buu Saga.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, they fit the whole thing in there. Plus,
Maybe-
there's a bunch of bonus stuff.
Should I play that? Because I did try it, but like I didn't really spend a lot of time with it. But like, should I go back and play that game?
I've heard some people don't like it. I enjoyed it personally. Like it's a really fun RPG.
Maybe I will go back and try that again.
There's a lot of anime-based RPGs that are surprisingly fun.
Yeah, like that. I was gonna ask you about that One Piece Odyssey. Like, does that take place in like a specific arc of the game or the show, or is that like its own thing?
So it's its own thing. So the best way to describe it is like it is using arcs from the past, but it's not like it's not like it's currently in that time. It's like memories. So they're
Oh.
kind of going back in their memories, so not everything is the same. I will say it is it's very good. I really enjoy it.
So two questions. Number one, do you have to know anything about One Piece to play the game and enjoy it?
That's the thing. I mean, I feel like it's tough because I'm a really big One Piece fan.
Like, would I be
But,
confused if I just threw it on, or would I?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think you'd kind of be able to like pick up with it pretty quickly. because the whole beginning part is like new for everyone. Your kind of intro and your tutorial, and then where it kind of goes back in time, but they're memories, so they're not necessarily the same. It's not really the same as the show, so I don't think you need exactly like all the context for it. And it kind of does a little flashbacks for you too, and it gives like the player a little context to what's going on. So I gotta get a little farther in it, and then I can let you know. Honestly,
Alright.
because I'm still very early into it. It's a very big game.
The second question I had was, how many characters have amnesia?
None.
What? No, that can't be considered an anime game if there's no amnesia.
No, so no, so none of them have amnesia. I guess though the thing that kind of power scales them back, because like it starts out with them at like level 42, and then they lose all their powers, so that you can actually play the RPG as you're supposed to and level up as it goes. Um, and it's written out, but it's like they run into this girl who has this magical power of like stealing the memories, and that's kind of why they're going back in their memories to get their powers back. So it makes sense. No one has amnesia though.
If there's no amnesia, there's definitely something to do with memory. Then
Yes.
there's never an anime situation where that doesn't happen. It always has to be there. Oh, I was gonna say, back on to the topic of the day. Do you guys remember getting an N64 for the first time?
Oh, so here's the fun. We were PlayStation kids.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So
And here's another fun joke. Alex hates the N64.
sorry, I don't
Blasphemy.
like the N64.
You don't like that slick controller that fits
No, I hate
perfectly
it.
in your hands, and that's super not confusing for a child to pick up?
No, I'm sorry. We did a whole. You should watch our episode. I bet it would make you.
I'm gonna have to go back and I have to critique it. I'm gonna have to come on for a follow-up episode.
Well,
with
he
all
also
my-
made me.
You're gonna you can join.
Shit games.
We are doing a revisit of, so you can join with Dave from Remember 64.
Oh shit! Yes.
We're gonna get Alex to like this damn thing.
We're gonna try
Yep, we are.
Wait, did you
can
see
count
what
me
I
in.
posted in the server the other day? Bill
Oh,
like, tagged me, and so I made this meme of like, you know, the table guy, the guy who like has a table, and it's like,
The
convince
change my
me-
mind meme
change
or whatever.
my mind.
Oh yeah.
I played the Atari Jaguars better than the N64. Change my mind.
How do I
So-
disconnect this call? How do I get off of here?
I'm sorry. He
Uh,
made me play a lot of really shit games too, like Buck Bumble. Like, ugh.
Well, that was after I realized we weren't gonna get anywhere with like the classics. So I was
you
like,
don't like
all
that
right.
Buck Bumble banging soundtrack? Beat to the buck to the bumble.
God,
That's
It,
the
like,
best shit, man.
It's like one of those things that's it's in my head forever, and like sometimes I'll just be like, "Duh, duh, duh, duh," and I'll be like, God damn it, it's
Yeah.
Buck Bumble in my brain.
She woke me up one morning playing that through my door. I was
The
like,
song?
yeah, she just blasted it on her iPad, and I was like, go away.
Yeah. It's great living with your sibling. You know, just all the cursed ways you can wake them up. I love the Six Flags theme too. That's fun to wake Phil up.
So hang on. We're not gonna dance around this. There are fantastic games on the N64, and I'm not even talking about like, okay, of course, yes, Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, like, of course, yes, these are like notoriously amazing games. No. I got some shit, man. I got shit for like what kind of. Well, I can't really recommend a forever game to you on the N64.
All right, I did enjoy one game.
What, Harvest Moon?
No, it was the Beetle race.
Oh,
Beetle Adventure Racing? That's a good game. That is a good game. Yeah, you're
I
absolutely
enjoyed
right.
That one, and that was about it.
So for our follow-up episode, I actually at a retro convention found this like more traditional N64 controller, like a third-party one.
It doesn't have the stupid third.
Oh, is that the
middle.
Fighter Pro thing? What's it called?
I'm not sure. It didn't have a brand name, but it like looks like a regular controller. I grabbed that, so I'm gonna try and like we're gonna reintroduce it to her with that controller and see if.
Can I tell you something?
What's up?
No. You must do it the original way. You have
She'll,
to.
No.
she'll never like it.
Then my opinion stands that it sucks.
She hates see, her biggest problem was she just hated the controller.
So the controller is the
'cause,
biggest
like,
hurdle?
Yeah, because like my hands just hurt. Like they were uncomfortable after playing it, and I just was like, I don't know. Maybe it's also because like I use my hands all day at work. So like if I'm playing something uncomfortable, I'm like I don't want to play this.
What if I
This-
told you there's a very, very good game that actually uses the D-pad for the whole thing? Like you don't hold it in the you don't hold the N64 dick in the middle. You hold the like a regular like controller, hands on both sides. Mischief Makers is
I
a
love Mischief
fantastic
Makers.
game. It's a platformer, which there was none of those pretty much on N64. And Treasure made that game. Treasure, I don't even think a bad Treasure game exists. Like I would,
Yeah, even that Ronald McDonald game's pretty good.
it's good. I recently threw that on because I was like, wait a second, there's no way Treasure did this game, and it's good. It's actually pretty fun.
I think their weakest game it might be Wario World.
Yeah, I haven't really played. I had that loaded up on the old Steam Deck, but I haven't really dug into that too much. It didn't seem terrible, but it seemed a bit.
It's not bad.
weird.
It's just kind of meh.
Yeah, I mean, cool for them to go after like a Nintendo property like that, but I think they're better when they just make their like. I mean, they've made some of the craziest games ever. Like, have you ever played Alien Soldier on Genesis?
I have not.
Oh my god. That game is relentlessly difficult. I just beat it. It was my first beat of this year. Jan 1, got that beat. It's a treasure game. It's probably really expensive to buy.
Probably a lot of treasure games are.
Are they?
They're getting there.
Yeah. That game is so good. So good. So that's what I'm saying. Mischief Makers, N64, don't gotta hold it weird. Just hold it like a normal controller. You play it like a normal platformer. It's got a really cool soundtrack. The gameplay is really fun. That would for sure be one to start you off with. Obviously, that's not the go-to to try to get somebody into N64.
It would be Superman 64, right?
Oh, good lord.
No.
No, you stay the fuck away from that thing. Also, have you played any of the Gomon games?
Oh, I did show her the intro for the
Mystical Ninja?
yeah, Mystical Ninja, just because it's like literally an anime
That
intro.
song? Oh my god. Have you played that game, Bill?
I have.
Like
I love
through?
that. I haven't finished it, but I've played a good amount of it.
So obviously you've seen the Impact song.
Yeah.
That I remember seeing that as a kid and just being like, what's happening? Why is there a theme song all of a sudden? Like this Japanese theme song comes in and then you get a big robot.
Yeah.
So good.
That whole series is like amazing, even though we only got like 4 of them.
Yeah. I've actually been playing through like there's a lot of very hardworking people out there in the ROM hacking community, and the majority of the Goemon games are now fully translated. Like the Super Nintendo ones and even the PlayStation ones have gotten translations. They're such good games.
I've heard. It's actually funny. Speaking of treasure games, did you ever play Silhouette Mirage?
Yes. Which console? That was a Saturn first, I think.
It came out on Saturn, but the official version we got was on PlayStation.
Right. Yes.
Because
yeah, it's a really different kind of game.
It's like a side scroller, but it has the gameplay.
Ikaruga?
Yeah, the Ikaruga gameplay. It's interesting. Well, I guess Ikaruga has the Silhouette Mirage gameplay if you think about it.
Yep. But yeah, Treasure makes fantastic games. So you got that, like you will like the N64, Alex. Like I'm willing to put a lot. Like, listen, I've said it on my podcast before. I'll bet my life. Okay,
I don't think you want to take that bet.
Nope, I'm willing to wager it. I've done it several times, and I'm still here.
Well, okay, but what if I counter back on this podcast and just convince you all that the Atari
She can't even say it without laughing, for Christ's sake.
Hey, if you played Attack of the Mutant Ninja Penguins, that's a pretty great game, right?
Attack of the Mutant Ninja Penguins.
I think the ninja line was added. That I think it's just Attack of the Mutant
I
Penguins.
thought they were
Teenage Mutant
ninjas.
Ninja Penguins.
So there's on the Jaguar. There's literally a game that's like it's called like Attack of the Mutant Penguins. It is a top-down strategy like game where you have to like guide these penguins through this thing and keep them from becoming evil, and it's like the most convoluted game you'll ever play. Like I
It's
think
a great game.
the only reason anybody knows about it is because the Angry Video Game Nerd talked about it during his Jaguar
There is
episode.
no ninja. There is no
Oh
ninja.
wait, maybe there is no ninjas.
No.
I think I do remember him because I'm pretty sure I've watched every AVGN episode, and I think I do remember that now. But I mean, I
Yep.
have every Atari Jaguar game loaded up on my Steam Deck. Maybe I should go check them out.
It has some bangers. Like there are
You
some
should.
really good Atari Jaguar games. The problem is it's like a lot of the system's library is pretty crap.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Isn't that the console that had that really, really, really bad port of Doom?
No, that was the 3DO.
another
Yeah.
great one?
Wait,
Oh,
no,
well,
no, no,
No,
no, no.
well, I have you got to remember, I have a second podcast that is dedicated to the 3DO.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about. Yeah, the 3DO, man, is a real good console. It's definitely in my wheelhouse of things that I know about, and big supporter of the 3DO over here, Bill.
So the 3DO is a fun console as well. That's actually my favorite. Like, that's like my favorite console. I like to just like fanboy over because it is such a weird system that was a cool idea that was just never gonna work. Because like the whole idea behind it was they wanted to make like a video game standard, kind of like DVD or Blu-ray, but for video games. The problem
Plumbers
is
don't
though,
wear ties.
I own that now, by the way.
No,
Yes.
you
I
It's up-
told him to buy it.
It's up on the shelf back there somewhere. We're gonna play it for because I
I
want to do an
can't
episode, a 3DO episode on it. But yeah, there is some. The thing about the 3DO is most of the games worth playing on it are on other systems now, so it's kind of like there's really no reason to own a 3DO other than like nostalgia or just morbid curiosity, I should say.
man. I mean, those Zelda games are pretty wild.
Oh, are you talking about the CDI ones?
Oh, okay. I'm getting
Yeah.
CDI and 3DO mixed up.
It's all right. A lot of people do. Yeah, well, 3D. The difference between 3DO and CDI is 3DO at least had good games.
Shots fired at the
CDI had those Mario and Zelda games. That's
What do
about
you
it.
mean? You don't want to play the Flowers of Robert Mapplethorpe?
No,
Is that a game or is that a novel that you had to read in junior high?
No, it's a game on the CDI.
no, calling it a
Well,
game is generous.
game.
It's just a bunch of flowers. It's a picture gallery of flowers with music playing in the background.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
What the fuck?
is.
Once again, the only reason I know about that is because of AVGN. Because he made a joke about it like 3 times and then he actually played it and he's like, "Oh, it's not a game."
Yeah. So look, I will return on this podcast to force feed N64 to Alex.
Oh wait, okay. I have a question. Did we play any fighters? Is there a lot of fighters on the N64?
Well,
There's some good ones.
There's Smash Brothers, but Alex hates Smash Brothers too.
yeah, I just don't. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't get into.
To be fair, Smash Brothers is not the easiest fighting game to get into if you like other fighting games.
Yeah,
I would actually suggest playing Flying Dragon.
I own that now, and actually, I didn't own it when we did the episode.
That's a
Okay.
good fighting game, and you could choose between the two different styles of like the big polygon style, kind of like Virtua Fighter looking guys, and then there's also like the SD version, like the Super Deform version. I used to like playing the SD version more, but there's like weird RPG elements to that game.
Yeah, it's because the N64 had like 5 RPGs like total.
Yeah, it was like Ogre Battle.
Well, there's the main three are Paper Mario, Ogre Battle, and Quest 64.
Oh God.
Then there's that like, it's like I forget the name of it. It's like something Chronicles. What is it called? It has a
Aiden
really
Chronicles.
Adian Chronicles. Yeah, that's the one. That game is impressive, like from a scope, but it's like very boring.
Yeah,
And then there's Hybrid Heaven, which is like
that's
that
a cool
one's.
game.
It is, but that one's the biggest stretch because it's one of those where it's like it's technically an RPG, but at the same time, is it really an RPG?
No, that's a third person shooter with RPG
Yeah.
elements. But yeah,
You have to pick and choose when it comes to the N64.
yeah, it's kind of strange. But no, there's good games.
There is. I don't think Alex will deny there's good games. I just think she has this little inner joke now that she just has to hate the thing.
And it's mostly the controller. So I'm willing to give it another chance with the modified controller, but until then, I don't like it.
I just think she likes to. I think she just likes to say that she likes the Atari Jaguar more at this point.
I had so much fun in that episode, like when we were playing all the Atari Jaguar games. So,
But yeah,
the
so
controller was comfortable.
I again, I'll be back to right this wrong, but
okay, we're adding you and Dave now to that episode. So,
but yeah, my introduction to N64 was at a Blockbuster. I remember walking in and just seeing that controller and like putting my hands around it and going, how? What am I supposed to do? But yeah, but I was like 7 or 8 when I first seen it. As a grown adult, I would think I would figure it out.
To be fair though, most people when it comes to the N64 controller, their usual response is like, I don't know, it was weird then and it's weird now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it is kind of weird. But hey, Mario 64 though, up on that screen, and then I'm like looking at the controller, and then some skinny, grungy looking teenage guy comes over, like the Blockbuster worker, and he's like, "You want to like play it or something?" I was like, "Oh, this is a game." I didn't know what it was. I didn't even think it was a game because it looked so crazy. Like, you go from seeing like Donkey Kong Country to seeing Mario like that. I was like, "What is this? Like, is this a movie? Like, what's going on here?" And yeah, I just remember playing that and then begging my parents to let me rent it from Blockbuster in that tactical briefcase.
Oh yeah, you could rent consoles back in the day.
Yeah,
that was a thing. I don't know if they'd be able to do that nowadays.
I told a really funny story on our podcast about when I rented the N64, and then I had to bring it back, and as I was playing Mario Kart 64 and I was on Rainbow Road and I was getting my ass beat, getting knocked off the fucking course left, right, and center, and I'm like getting frustrated, and I'm like getting frustrated with the fact that I know that my dad has to bring this console back like really soon. And then I remember he's like, "All right, I'm bringing it back now. You got to go to bed." I was like, "Okay." And I go to bed and I cried because I thought I was never going to see the N64 again, ever, because it was so expensive to buy. And then he came home, like my mom put me to bed. He comes home and he's like, "Okay, good night. Hey, what's going on? Why are you crying?" And I was like, "Nothing, never mind." And he was like, it's okay, what's going on?" And I was like, "I'm never gonna get to play N64. And he's like, "Jesus Christ, Dad," like, he's crying over the fucking N64. Like, it was like I've never been a more bigger disappointment to my dad in that moment. Like, crying over a goddamn system. Come on. And then I don't know if it was like some kind of cruel joke, but then when I was like, "Can I have N64 for Christmas?" They're like, "No, it's too expensive. But you could sell your Super Nintendo to get it." And I had to sell my Super Nintendo and all of my games to some stupid kid who just came and did not even appreciate the fact that they were getting Earthbound, Secret of Mana, Mega Man X1, 2, and 3. Like, I had some bangers that this dumb kid just came in and took all my shit. Well, I mean, they paid me so I could get my N64, but I cried like a baby. And they were like, "Smarten up. You're getting the N64 tomorrow. Stop crying about it."
That's rough, especially because most of those games are like $100+ now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I had some wildly expensive games when I because it was funny because I had Earthbound and I didn't even know how to play it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know. I was like, "What reading game? No, I don't want to play a reading game."
Words? No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every time I play an RPG as a kid, I'd be like, "Oh, this is one of those reading games. Get out of here."
It's actually funny. We grew up. It's funny I've told the story before in the past, but the neighborhood we lived in was like a Super Nintendo heavy like neighborhood. We were like the one weird kids with a PlayStation in the neighborhood.
It's like the Bloods and Crips.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Like at
What are you
school,
rolling with? You got a PlayStation or you got Super?
At school, it was literally like that. Like everyone was like talking about N64, and I was the one weird kid who was like, I have Final Fantasy. Like
In
that's
Tiny Tank.
oh yeah, yeah, and Tiny Tank.
Tiny Tank. Tiny Tank's good.
I love we love Tiny Tank. That's like one of our like
You?
first games we played back in the day.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
such a
man.
silly little game.
It's good. It's weird, but I think I rented that when I had my PlayStation, or maybe I don't know. I probably emulated it at some point, but yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah. It was funny though, like, cause like everybody had N64s around us, and like I kind of had envy for it because I really wanted to play the N64 back then, just because it looks so cool. Like I mean, I thought the controller was weird, but I still wanted to play it. It also, for some reason, cartridges fascinated me, like for whatever reason, because I was like, I was kind of at the point where I thought everything was just CDs, and like when I saw an old like a system using cartridges, I was like, that's weird, but I like it.
Well, I mean, with CDs, like you could put them up on a shelf and they'd look cool. It was like, look at my collection, you know. But then you have cartridges, and look, nobody had their cartridges neatly aligned on a shelf. No, they were in a fucking Tupperware container shoved under their bed.
Or if you were cool, you had that N64 drawer thing. But
oh yeah, I remember those. What about the era of GameCube, PS2? Which way did you went PS2? I assume, right?
Let's be fair. Everybody had a PS2.
Yeah, I think that's when I kind of made the decision, because I had always been Nintendo up to that point, and I was like, no, I got to get this PS2 under wraps here. And
so that was actually the funniest part. We had a PS2, obviously, just because like we had PlayStations, but we were still in that Super Nintendo heavy area, although there was a few random Xbox people here and there. And everyone had GameCubes, but they also had PS2s as well, because it was literally everybody's DVD player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always remember like going over a friend's house and I'd see the PS2 on the shelf. I'm like, oh, PS2, you want to play some games? They'd be like, oh, that's just our DVD player. We don't have any games for it. And I'd always be like, all right, I'll go grab some games and we'll play PS2.
Yeah, that is true. I do remember like a lot of like my non-gamer friends would have a PS2, and they'd have like there would be like just whatever game came with it in the bundle that you got from GameStop, and it was like scratched to shit, and they're like, oh, I don't know, some fucking Def Jam thing up there. I don't know, just go grab that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did end up getting a game. I was actually like not interested in the GameCube whatsoever, and it wasn't until my friend came over, because hey man, those GameCubes were really easy to bring over to people's houses.
Had a carrying handle.
It had a friggin' handle. So he came over and he's like, dude, just hear me out. You have to see Metroid Prime.
Oh, Metroid Prime.
I was like, fine, okay, I guess, but it's not like, this is not how I want Metroid to be. And oh my god, that game blew my mind seeing that for the first time. And then he was like, now check out Wind Waker, because I had put off Wind Waker for a long time because I was like, no, cartoony Zelda's not my thing, I don't think. And then he threw that on. I was like, oh yeah, cartoon Zelda is definitely my thing. Like this, I need to get this console. And
yeah,
right around when I got it is when I seen the first commercial for Resident Evil 4.
Oh
and I was like, holy shit, I got this system at the right time.
So we're actually getting kind of close to our time limit, but I actually wanted to talk about the Xbox real quick, because we had mentioned that you had no interest in it back in the day, and
well,
neither
yeah,
did I.
No,
So,
No.
Yeah, that's why I kind of want to talk about, because when I finally got one, it's actually kind of cool. So the original Xbox is like the collector's dream right now,
Really?
because nobody cares about it. The games are all like stupidly cheap.
Oh yeah, it's very cheap,
Um,
but not the console itself.
no, yeah, original Xboxes themselves are kind of expensive to find because there's not a lot of them out there. The games themselves, nobody wants them, so they're like all like bargain bin price right now.
Dirt
Oh
cheap.
man.
Like the funniest is like Silent Hill 2 on like Xbox is like maybe like $20. Meanwhile on PlayStation it's like 80.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's crazy like that. But here's the fun thing about original Xbox. So I got mine at a flea market like back in 2018. Just it was like $50 at a flea market. And it was mostly because I wanted to play like a bunch of those like Sega exclusives that released for it, like Crazy Taxi 3, Panzer Dragoon Orta,
Nice.
uh, Jet Set Radio Future, Shenmue 2, like all those like exclusives that Microsoft got. And at the same time, I was kind of like, oh, there's a bunch of PS2 games on there too that I don't own for PS2 that are cheaper on Xbox, so I guess I'll grab those. I learned really fast that the Xbox versions of most games from that generation are actually the best versions of like pretty much every game.
Yeah, that console was more had a little bit more oomph to it than people gave it credit for. I think.
Mm,
I have heard that before. That like games just ran better and looked better.
yeah, like I've been playing a Simpsons Hidden Run lately on it, and it runs so much smoother on Xbox. It's like it's kind of crazy just how like impressive that console was. Like honestly, the only exception to the rule I think is for whatever reason Metal Gear Solid 2 just wasn't very good on Xbox for whatever reason.
That came out on Xbox.
The MGS2 Subsistence did.
Oh,
Or Substance. Subsistence was 3. But they got 2 for whatever reason, and the 2 port was so bad, I guess they just never got 3.
you know Sony did that on purpose. Like, yeah, sure, we'll give it to you.
Yeah. It's funny though, because like every other game is like so wicked good. Like the Crash Bandicoot games on on the Xbox play better than the PS2 versions.
Oh, wow.
And there's some really cool hidden gems too. Like there's this platformer on Xbox called Voodoo Vince.
I've heard of this.
It is like one of the best platformers that nobody's played. Like it is such a cool idea. You literally you play as a voodoo doll, and like your gimmick is you have to do like you like hurt yourself like a voodoo doll, and it like lets you use different abilities. It's really cool.
What? Oh man. So is it a 3D platform or is it a
Yeah,
2D?
it's a full 3D platformer.
Oh man.
And it's super cheap. Actually, I think they ported it to Xbox One at one point too, as like a bonus, like a remastered version, because a lot of people started talking about it. I'm sure you could find it on the Steam Deck.
Oh, I'm fairly certain I could probably go tonight and download the entire Xbox One library off of archive.org
Yeah,
and throw that on there. I might do that actually because that like there's still a couple of systems that I have not brought over onto the Steam Deck. Xbox original being one of them, but I do know that it does emulate quite well on the Steam Deck. But yeah, I've been like bringing over some really obscure shit. Like I have the full Vectrex library,
nice.
and like I have an OLED TV, so like the really like deep blacks actually make because with RetroArch you can turn on like these specific shaders that are used to emulate to give the appearance of like because you know how Vectrex had like those like the weird lines and stuff.
Yeah, because it used vector graphics.
Yeah, and it actually does a really good job of like making a very good case of emulation.
Oh, that's
for that.
cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Nice.
But yeah, I love my Steam emulation deck.
Gotcha. So we're getting right around the time I want to wrap this up. We honestly probably could do a continuation of this another time down the line because there's so many other stories to say.
I know.
But I guess I wanted to just give you this time now to like plug your stuff again and like anything else you want to share.
Yeah, for sure. Well, our podcast is Super Ghost Radio. It comes out every other Thursday. Right now, we're kind of just like on a hiatus from the holidays, but our game of the year will be coming out either this week or next. and it'll be quite a banger. It'll
Nice.
be a big one.
Nice.
And then you can find us on Twitter at Super Ghost Radio, on Instagram at Super Ghost Radio. We are on Twitch at Super Ghost Live, and I think that's about it. Yeah,
Nice.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me over here.
Oh no, thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Nah, one of our goals for this season is we want to do a lot more collabs because our first 2 seasons we only did like 2 collabs entirely, and we wanted to make this season like the start of like doing a whole bunch of them and like really expanding out with the whole greater gaming podcast community.
Yep.
And honestly, this was a blast. Like I love just talking old games and like meeting new people and like just like we'll get Alex to like the N64 one day.
Let's have you back for that episode.
There will be N64 waterboarding on the next episode, folks. Stay tuned.
I haven't even run this by Dave yet, so I'm gonna have to be like, hey Dave, we're gonna have fun with this one.
Oh god.
Yep.
Do you have a link tree or anything like that has all your links? Or
I don't. That's one of the things I've been meaning to get set up. I just usually drop our Anchor thing that has like all of our stuff is on
Gotcha.
like through Anchor. But
Okay.
yeah, we're on all the podcasting platforms.
All right. Nice. Well, thank you anyways though for joining. This was an awesome time, and well, before we sign off, the Gaming Collecting Podcast can be found on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're made on Anchor Podcast, and you can follow us on all the social media, Twitter, Good Pods, Instagram. And until next time, guys, we will see you all later.
Bye.
The Atari Jaguar is better than that 64.
No.
Get out of here.